I had had a interaction in my dream with this entity, and I described the place to my wife, and it was a place that she was familiar with. Like, she was the one that kind of got us that whole connection. And she turned pale when I was telling her about it, because I'd walked into like this little room in the dream, right? And there was an older building, slanted roof. There was one window over this bed, and this entity floats up in it. It's what I've come to understand is the Hatman itself, at least a representation of it that floated up. Its skin was ash gray and cracked. Like, there was these black cracks all over it. And its skin was kind of flaking off, floating away, turning into smoke on the wind, right? Its eyes were like a jaundiced yellow. It had like a desiccated, stretched mouth and no tongue, but it was mouthing something to me. It took me a little while to figure out what it was saying. And it said Zayed Jarrah, right? And at the time when I thought about that, I'm like, okay, that doesn't, whatever, that's just some gibberish. Do a quick Google search. Turns out that's one of the 9/11 bombers. I don't know what the connection is. I think that it was still just kind of a rabbit hole to try to distract and whatever. Maybe it'll bring up a connection for someone else. But that was probably 2 months before we actually went there to film and do our stuff. Actually went there and did our paranormal investigation. And there was a point where I was in that room in kind of this little closet, attic, walkway kind of space, right? And I was asking, what does Zayed Jarrah mean? And I'm editing later on, about 3 months later. I didn't hear anything at the time, but I'm editing later on, and I'm trying to match up the audio with the video. And I get to the point where I was asking about that stuff, and I'm not there on the video, but I'm listening through it, and I ask that question, and there's an EVP that comes through, and it starts playing. There's like a sitar that starts playing for probably a few seconds. And then it's just this deep, gravelly voice that says, "It was me." Sitar plays for a few more minutes or for a few more seconds, and then cuts out. And I remember at that point, I'm like, okay, so I stopped what I was doing. Like, I'm like, okay, this is not something that I should be messing with. These things are able to invade my dreams, travel across thousands of miles, give me something to pay attention to. And then when I go there, they reference it directly. I'm like, so what's to say that they can't also follow me back?